welcome back to Cigar Time. You're so very friendly. I put a new word in there. Did you catch that?
Yes.
Threw me off
So
there.
very friendly show all about premium cigars. Like, throw your timing off?
Yep.
No, but I'm afraid I won't be so very friendly. I might be friendly, but
Well, you're
so
pretty, Paul, you're a pretty friendly guy.
Okay.
You are.
Then I won't worry.
You are. And, you know, when they were talking about bathhouses before, I kind of thought of you.
No, the closest
That's
thing I get to that
disturbing
is
in and of
renting a little
itself.
boy in Nicaragua.
I don't know if I want to keep going there.
Nah.
Maybe I should quit while I'm ahead. Welcome back. And today, what are we doing today? We're smoking something today. What are we
We're
smoking?
smoking a La Gloria Cubana Criollo de Oro.
Ooh,
And Paul has all the information on it.
This is actually.
we
a
can
very-
light up, right?
We can.
Yes,
Oh, how
This-
was your week? I forgot to ask.
it was great.
Your guys' week good?
Yeah.
We seem to be missing somebody. I just barely noticed, but you know.
Scott, he's still
Yeah,
in,
you'll
he's still in
notice less and
Vegas.
less.
Boy, how long is his vacation?
I don't know.
I know it started sometime in April, and this is what? This is end of July? Or
I left him there.
well,
He's
he can take care of himself.
yeah.
Okay, we can light up. You can tell
You
us
can
about
light
the
up
blend.
and let me tell you about the blend because it's actually quite interesting.
I'll bet.
The wrapper is the most interesting part of it. It's a proprietary hybrid created by General. The actual tobacco is called Criollo de Oro, and it's a hybrid of Criollo, not too surprising, which you may not know is actually the most popular breed of tobacco in the industry.
Right.
Really?
Yes.
That's interesting.
And they think, although they're not positive, that it is the oldest commercial tobacco breed from Cuba.
Oh, from Cuba. I would say Sumatra.
Way before
Yeah.
Corojo, way before any of
Right.
that, they had Criollo. But what they did is they crossed it, they hybridized it with a very rare and special Dominican tobacco called Pelo de Oro, which means golden hair.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a very distinctive kind of tobacco, but most people's interest in it comes from the fact that it was banned in Cuba.
Huh.
They're not allowed to grow or use Pelo de Oro in Cuba at all.
Why?
It has a tendency, at least in Cuban fields, to get blue mold.
Okay.
And once that
doesn't shock
starts,
me.
it affects the whole rest of the crop.
Don't
So
do it.
But didn't
So
the Cubans develop a tobacco many years ago, many years ago, that was mold resistant?
Habana 2000.
Yeah, the 2000. Whatever happened to that?
They still use it.
Nobody,
I don't
nobody,
think so.
Nobody liked it, and it didn't burn well.
Yeah,
it didn't ferment
didn't taste well
easily.
either.
It
was
didn't
too
work.
tough.
So they went back to Corojo.
But they didn't have mold.
That's true.
The Cubans.
However, just so you know, Habana 2000 did live on. It was propagated in Nicaragua, Honduras, and Ecuador.
Really?
But in Nicaragua and Honduras, Habana 2000 tended to be what I like to call flame retardant. You could not make it burn.
That's not very good in a cigar.
No, not good at all, especially in a wrapper.
Yeah.
In Ecuador, they decided to ferment it way longer and at a higher temperature, and it became very good, and they stopped calling it Habana 2000 and just called it Habano.
Wow, yeah.
So now when you see Habano,
You know what
it's
come
typically
from.
actually Habana 2000,
That's why I said that. But they're still around.
that way.
You guys
Yes.
are pretty smart.
He knows his
I'm very-
stuff.
I'm very impressed.
So
It's about time.
this hybrid, I think it's distinctive and unusual. We'll talk about the flavor as you smoke it. So it's that wrapper. The binder is a U.S. Connecticut broadleaf,
Oh, nice.
which gives it significant depth, and the fillers are Honduran and Nicaraguan.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of good stuff going on in this cigar.
Has a very nice taste from the get-go.
It does.
Has a little sweet finish to me, anyway.
Yeah. I'm
That's
actually
from
getting
the-
a citrus to me.
But a great retrohale.
I haven't retrohaled it yet.
I'm still on the dry draw because I'm talking.
Talking. What you remember we were talking about before? Before we
Bathhouse?
start.
What are you laughing at? You brought it up.
I haven't said a word.
Well, you were thinking it, and I know it.
Oh, is that what
You're
it is?
talking
Okay.
about it being a tight draw. You
No, this one's fine. Yeah.
See, mine is a little tight. Just a tad. I mean, it's still smokable, but it's just a little
You
tight.
got mine.
Yeah.
No, this is
For a
fine.
power hitter like me, that's nothing.
The cigar is officially considered a limited release. Only 3,000 boxes were made.
Oh, that's it. I think we got all three.
We got all of them.
Yeah, just about, yeah.
It only comes in two sizes. What they call a Robusto Extra, but it's really a Toro. It's 5.5 by 52.
That's what we're smoking now.
Yes. And it also comes in a classic Churchill size, a 7 by 48.
Oh, that is classic Churchill.
Suggested retail on either one of them is $10.50. So it's
I gotta get used to that. I'm still dancing on the $4 and $5. I mean, I just can't get over it, you know. And I guess over the years, prices have crept up.
That's 2 gallons of gas.
Yeah, 2 gallons. I told you gas would be coming down.
Yeah, 2.5 gallons.
It's very good so far. Wow.
It is. It's a very good
impressive,
cigar.
I wish I could buy a gallon of gas for what my cigars cost.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, your cigars are just much cheaper than that.
$3.30.
That's right.
Well, don't worry. There's a plan in Washington to fix all this.
You know, there's not.
I don't think they're ever going to tell us about it, but there's a plan.
It'll happen in 2024.
Well, I think I forget what state it's in, but the federal judge that decided that the deeming regulation should not
A few
apply.
weeks ago, yeah.
Yep.
That's
Really?
good news.
Yeah,
A few weeks ago, I got the.
I just read about it
yesterday.
Today's the 20th.
Yeah.
They,
Really?
A few
Today's
weeks
the
ago.
20. You lost track of time. That was
Right.
like
Today
3
is the
weeks ago.
20th.
2-3
Boy,
weeks ago.
Vegas really did something to you.
Still got those spinning wheels. Between the bathhouse
Yeah,
and the
this is
spinning,
the spinning
wheels.
Yeah, you spend time with Scott every day.
No,
your,
thank
your,
you.
your wheels will be spinning too. It is a tasty. I'm getting besides the citrus. I'm
Very
getting,
nice citrus too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting like a like either an oak or a cedar taste.
There is some nice woodiness to
Yeah.
it. Very light
I'm getting
earthiness.
cedar.
And
Are you?
what I really like is the sweetness.
Yeah.
And
Right,
I'm getting
I said,
getting that when I take a puff. I'm getting it on the end of the cigar.
Not harsh at all.
No.
I would call this medium to slightly lower medium.
Yeah, I figure I think it's just a straight medium.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that.
Well, don't we have this new system where we give a point value
Yeah,
to the strength?
to the strength. Yeah.
Oh, when did we start doing that? Where was I at?
You were in
You were
Florida.
part of
I was
it.
in
You were
Florida.
in Florida.
Okay. Well, I can't help it. You know, we have stores down there. Don't forget to visit them if you're in the Sarasota area. Was that a gratuitous plug?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It was,
It's
it was
almost
smooth
as good
though.
as Scott doing his Colmar plugs
Oh,
Yeah.
on the show.
on the outlet show. Yeah. When you weren't here, it was hysterical. Shame I can't go back. and
I'm
find it.
wondering, I can't really tell for sure, but I'm wondering whether the sweetness comes from the broadleaf binder, depending on whether they brought it to Maduro status, even though it's a binder.
boy, what a waste that would be, though.
Well,
to
it depends on what it
forget
looks like.
Yeah, Connecticut broadleaf is so hard. I mean, yeah,
So hard to come by.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but if it's not the quality that you can use as a wrapper,
Well, the
what else are you
binder
going to use it for?
Yeah, the binder.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It could be too veiny and lumpy
Yeah.
to be
Right.
used as a wrapper,
Right.
but it's still lending great flavor to the
Yes.
cigar.
It's burning fine,
Nice band.
even though it's tough.
So I'd give it a
Nice,
straight
nice.
3 on strength.
3 out of what?
5.
Oh, okay.
I give it a 2.5.
Yeah, I agree with him. I think it's right down the
2.5.
middle.
Right in the
2.5.
middle. Right in the middle.
Two and a half too, yeah.
I'm surprised. You being the power hitter, I figured you were going to give it about a 1.5 to 2.
Yeah.
There is something vaguely, I hate to use this word, Cuban-esque about the flavor of this cigar.
Reminds me of Hoyo. The
Old
Ho-
Hoyo.
The old Hoyo line. Exactly right.
company.
I agree with that. 100%. Very, very reminiscent. I just wish they tasted that way today. Sadly, they don't.
No such luck.
I'm really getting the citrus through the retro, Hal.
And it's not a real tart citrus.
No.
It's almost
No.
more like orange
Yes.
than
Yeah,
lemon.
yeah.
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 Oh no, not a lemon at all.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's really nice retro, Hal.
So last week, we were talking about Connecticut shade tobacco and the history of it
Yes.
and all that. And I just did not want to wrap up without talking about the other, which we happen to be talking about anyway,
Right.
the other great tobacco that comes from Connecticut, which is broadleaf. Interestingly enough, back historically, before they even came up with Connecticut shade, broadleaf was the primary tobacco product out of Connecticut. Not necessarily Maduro, but
Right.
the broadleaf plant is what they planted the most of in the 17 and 1800s.
All right, tell the audience what distinguishes a broadleaf plant.
The name actually says
Yeah.
almost all of it.
Broadleaf.
It is a lower
Yeah.
growing plant.
Yep.
The leaves are very wide.
But not very tall.
So where you normally would think of a leaf as kind of wide at one end and narrow at the
Narrow,
other,
yep.
this is really wide the whole way.
Oh wait, yeah.
It's also much thicker,
Bigger leaves.
and because it's thicker and carries a lot of oil, it makes for an excellent Maduro. Because if you ferment it for a long time at a good temperature,
Nice and dark.
there's so much sugar in there.
What's a long time?
I would say to get a good broadleaf, you need at least 2 years of fermentation.
Really?
time, and that's
Yeah.
a lot.
Is that why? I guess that's
That's
why,
why
they're,
it's
they're more
expensive.
That's
expensive. Yeah.
very costly.
Now, these days, aside from the Maduro, there are a number of lines out there that use broadleaf natural. Trying to remember the name of it. It's something from Altatis,
Oh,
actually.
okay.
It might be the SLR.
Okay.
I think they make an SLR broadleaf natural.
Yes.
box
th-
press
yes, they do.
cigar.
It's box press. So, yep.
And I believe that was the first one out there with a natural broadleaf wrapper.
Right.
And of course, the other thing about broadleaf, at least in all of the countries that I've done business in, workers in the fields hate harvesting broadleaf.
Why?
With passion.
Too heavy?
No, it's too low.
Yeah.
So instead of picking this
Yeah, they
way,
gotta go
they're
low.
bending over picking. It's like picking berries or something.
Yeah.
And they're not used to being bent over all day. There's a bad joke in there somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. Or a good one.
We're back to the
there's-
bathhouse again.
There's also, and this is new, but there's a fair amount of experimentation with seeds that have never been grown in Connecticut before. So now you find Connecticut Habano out there. There's Connecticut Sumatra out there. There was one other. I believe they've begun planting Brazilian Arapiraca.
In Connecticut.
Well, I know they're doing it in Ecuador, and I believe they started doing it in Connecticut as well.
How big the Connecticut Valley?
It's small.
Yeah, I was going to say, I just wanted to explain, compared to countries like Honduras or Nicaragua or the Dominican Republic, how many acres are being planted in Connecticut?
I want to say 5,000, which is very
It's
little.
tiny, yeah.
And at one time, it was over 100,000.
Oh, yeah. But then the government started paying the farmers not to grow tobacco.
Well, they did that, and they also initiated the child labor laws, which made it really difficult to work the fields because kids were who worked the fields
Yeah, that's,
historically.
that's
Well, they could do the broadleaf. They're shorter.
It would be
They would have
easier.
to-
for,
they would
it
have
just
to
wouldn't
bend
be
over.
legal. You just
Have to
need
bend
midgets.
over as much.
No, I didn't say that. You need small people,
vertically
persons
challenged.
of
vertically challenged folks,
Persons,
is that a cut at me?
persons of small stature.
people of limited.
Don't take
stature.
anything personal.
Oh, that's right.
Short people count too.
I know.
I consider myself part of that population.
If you're above 5'7", you're technically not a shorter person.
Oh, good.
Oh, then I'm home free.
Yeah, me too.
I'm short.
I'm practically a giant.
No, I wouldn't go that far. So with only 5, how does that stack up to, let's say, Pennsylvania?
Well, Pennsylvania has more acreage
That's
under
what I thought,
tobacco,
yeah.
but most of it is not for
yes,
cigars.
not cigars, yeah.
And as far as Florida sun-grown, I don't know how many acres they have
Oh, it's
in
not
Florida,
five,
but
not
it's
5,000,
not.
no.
It's hardly anything and
Compared.
hardly worth it.
I like the Florida sun ground.
I find nothing to recommend.
Well, speaking of Pennsylvania tobacco, how much is actually used for cigars?
Not a lot.
About 10%.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
the re-
it?
Yeah. The rest is for pipe and chew,
Chew, yeah.
and mostly chew.
There's a lot of the companies, well, they haven't recently, but a while ago they were using a lot of Pennsylvania broadleaf.
Broadleaf.
There was a couple of years when there had been a blue mold attack on the Connecticut broadleaf, and they couldn't make Connecticut broadleaf Maduro for a couple of years. They tried Pennsylvania. Rocky Patel pioneered
Yes.
using
Yep.
Pennsylvania broadleaf extensively in cigars. But then the San Andres Maduro
Yeah, it
out of
came out,
Mexico
yeah.
really caught on.
That's amazing. 25 years ago, you couldn't give that away.
You couldn't pay people to
Yeah,
take it from
I know.
you. And now it's the hottest wrapper in the industry.
I
Yeah.
know. It's
What was I going to say?
I don't know.
It was about the broadleaf.
That's the
Pennsylvania-
first sign
Pennsylvania,
of
yeah,
Alzheimer's.
Pennsylvania broadleaf. I can't remember.
question. Extremes. You know, we're pretty used to smoking, a lot of Nicaraguan, a lot of Dominican.
Sure.
What would you say, and you have the golden Connecticut, okay? What would you say is the opposite end of the scale, both in taste and strength, from, let's say, good old Golden Shade, Connecticut?
Brazilian Modafina.
Okay, that's, I thought you would be headed in that direction. Describe the difference.
Connecticut is thin. It is virtually veinless,
Right.
at least the good stuff.
Yeah, beautiful.
And it is typically flavor neutral. Brazilian, well, any Brazilian tobacco,
Gets up and dances.
but Modafina in
Yeah,
particular is powerful.
Yeah.
It's quite veiny. It's very oily. It's physically robust, so it's easy to work with. And it's high in sugar, so it makes for an easy Maduro. And it's got a ton of flavor.
Would I be correct in assuming that the Macanudo Gold and the Romeo Reserva Real are two great examples of traditional Connecticut?
Yes, they are.
You
I mean,
Romeo-
of course, people
the
would say
Romeo
Davidoff
is
as well.
Ecuadorian.
No, it's Indonesian.
Indonesian
It's an
Connecticut?
yeah, it's an Indonesian
Well,
Connecticut.
who else besides Macanudo Gold uses the true veinless
Oh, wow.
Connecticut?
There
I
are
don't know.
quite a few. General does some.
Yeah.
Altadis does some.
What does Altadis use it on?
I can't think of anything they use.
I think the Henry Clay Warhawk is
Oh,
a
really?
Connecticut.
Is it a Connecticut?
I think so.
That's a good cigar.
Yes, it is.
I remember I was going to say, there are certain companies that will remain nameless. If they run out of their Maduro, they will use Pennsylvania Maduro.
Yeah.
One of the
big guys.
One of the big guys, yeah. And they won't tell you that, but I have it on good authority.
Well, one of those
they'll
same
use that.
companies, if they can't get at Maduro any other way and they need to in a hurry, they are not above cooking their Maduros,
Yeah.
even though it's a major player and they shouldn't have to. A few years back, they even referred to it in their internal literature as toasted Maduro. Toasted Connecticut Maduro.
All right.
Wow.
Next question. Often people look at cigars and they see veins. And sometimes they don't, like we were just talking about. And I think some people look at a cigar with veins in it and for some reason think, you guys talking bathhouses again?
No,
His stomach is
my stomach's talking.
What did it say?
Nothing
about
good.
bathhouses.
Nothing good.
Talking about
So,
bathhouses.
describe, since you are a resident
Expert.
No, I'm a tabacero.
agronomist.
I'm a tabacero.
A
That's little
tabacero,
different.
okay.
I'm not as
Yes,
technical
you're a
as an
tabacero, cigar
agronomist.
guy. Describe veins and no veins. Describe why veins, do veins cause anything? Do veins knock?
Really thick veins make it hard to roll the cigar. It's physically difficult to work with it because
Right,
the vein is
right.
much stiffer than the regular part of the leaf.
Right.
The other reactions to veins are actually primarily aesthetic. Beginning in the early 1800s, the cigar smoking public in general decided that very uniform, color consistent, veinless, flat, not even oily, like matte
Right,
finish
right.
wrappers were the way to be. And
Because they were making smaller cigars back then.
in a sense, that hasn't changed in that lighter Connecticut type wrapped cigars still outsell everything else by about 3 to 1 as a group, collectively.
So is it safe to say? I already know the answer. I'm just trying to
You set me up.
educate.
Yeah.
Educate our viewers. Is it safe to say that a cigar with thick, heavy veins in it may not be of the same quality?
No, it is not safe to say
Okay,
that.
that's what I want to establish. Because a lot of people, I just observed over the years that a lot of people will look at a cigar, see a bunch of veins, especially the kind of veins you can actually feel pretty well, and kind of put it down thinking that something wrong or it's not the highest
Right.
quality. Or
They
anything.
might think that it's crude,
Yeah.
but overall, cigar consumers have moved towards acceptance of variation
Right.
and even defect in wrappers because it's like old leather. It has character. Instead of being uniform and consistent and
Right,
almost machine-like, if you see some veins, if you see an off-color blotch or something here or there, or a little bit of marbling in
So
it,
sunspot.
Yeah, you know what you don't
people
see much
don't
anymore?
mind as much.
You don't see sunspots as much.
No.
You used to see them on the Cubans.
Or
all the time.
watermarks. You don't see
Yeah,
watermarks
you
anymore
don't
either.
see. Are they being rejected because of that?
No.
But I noticed when I look at a box of cigars, I don't see much of that anymore.
I don't know if that has to do with there being less rain, because you know the sunspots or water spots, as some people call them, or kisses from the sun,
Sun,
as some
yeah,
people
yeah.
call them, mostly come from when it rains overnight and the sun comes up
Right.
during the day, and there are just a few drops of water on the surface of the leaf, and it acts like a magnifying glass and intensifies the sun in
Right.
that spot, and that's why you get sometimes little spots. But there have been, back in the older days that you and I would remember,
Oh, speak for
there were
yourself.
plenty of people who even thought that tooth on a wrapper
It was good.
was, well, they used to think it was a defect.
Oh, I
But
never looked at it.
toothy wrappers, to me, were always a
Yeah,
plus.
yeah. I never looked at it as a defect.
All right, off topic.
Mm-hmm.
Again, a couple weeks ago, you were talking about media tempo
Yes.
leaves.
Which also Gloria uses.
Yes, they come out. Yeah, the media tempo cigar. Someone I just saw recently is using that as a wrapper. Is that possible because they're such small leaves?
Maybe smaller
This
cigars.
is a topic of some debate,
Okay.
because there are people that are breeding bigger leafed medio tiempo on purpose, and some people say, well, then it's not medio tiempo.
Right.
And the person who is at the forefront of doing more things with that leaf is Don Pepin,
Pepin,
and my father. But other people look at that and they say it's not medio tiempo. Because the only way you can get medio tiempo necessarily means it's going to be small.
Right.
So really, if you're going to use true medio tiempo as a wrapper, it would have to be petite Coronas.
Yeah,
Right.
small
Because they're
cigars, yeah.
small
right.
leaves.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I couldn't believe, and it came in different sizes, and I'm like, this doesn't sound right to me.
I think AJ has done a little bit in that regard also.
Right.
But it's the same issue. Other tobacco guys will tell you it can't be medio tiempo. And since medio tiempo as a concept doesn't apply to one particular breed or another, it could be any
Right.
tobacco plant.
Here's a-
Definitions are kind of loose.
Here's a
Like
question.
sizes.
Oh, were you saying something? No. In the last, let's say, 40 years, make it 50, make it 30. What doesn't matter.
50, the time I've been smoking.
It's a lot longer for me. Is there any leaf that's gone obsolete? Think about it.
Cigar leaf that's gone obsolete. I don't think so. Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Just a curious question.
I don't know.
I
of
wasn't
a-
aware of
I
any.
don't know of any that have totally legitimately gone away. Except if you wanted to say a particular breed, like let's say you were talking about Ecuador Sumatra, just
Okay.
as an example, and they planted a bunch of it in Costa Rica
That would have been a hybrid anyway.
to begin with.
Yeah.
When let's say they planted that in Costa Rica and started using it in a few cigars,
Right.
that might have gone away, but Ecuador Sumatra wouldn't have gone away.
didn't go,
Just
yeah.
that local version of it.
Right.
And I'm just picking an example out of my hat,
Right.
literally.
There seems to be, unless I'm mistaken, there seems to be more Cameroon cigars now.
I think that decades of effort to stabilize the growing environment,
Which
to
the
stabilize.
Mirafell family is
They
revolutionary.
are.
Yeah.
That's
He's coming out with his
that's
own
them.
cigar.
Yeah, very,
Did you see
very
that?
nice. Time for our, I guess,
you
final
see this
review. I
coming out
saw
with-
it. Yep.
It's very expensive.
Already told him to send me a couple boxes.
A couple boxes?
Is it being rolled by Fuente?
No,
no, it's not.
That's a
no,
real
no.
surprise.
Yeah.
But they're like $50 a piece. They're real expensive.
They're not inexpensive.
Yeah.
Let's put
All
it
right,
that way.
we got to put numbers.
Well, getting a cigar from Mirafell is roughly equivalent to getting a Cuban cigar from Ravina
I got
when he was
Back in
alive.
the day, yeah. Back in the day. All right, Moose, start it out.
I'm enjoying the cigar. It's tasty. I get the citrus notes and some of the, I get cedar out of it. I give it a 9.
I'm right with you, Moose. I give it a 9 also. I think it's a very good cigar, very tasty. The retrohale is very, very pleasant, and there's no burn in the retrohale.
None
with
at
this
all.
cigar. It's very smooth. So I also give it a 9. It's a good cigar.
I'm surprised I like it as much as I do, because like you said, I tend to be a
Heavier,
heavier
yeah,
hitter,
yeah.
and this is by no means in any way a heavy cigar.
No.
But the flavors are very nuanced and very distinctive.
Oh, very distinct.
And so I'm enjoying it thoroughly, even though it's on the mild side. I give it a 9 also.
Well, there we go.
Wow, boy, I'm the only dissenter. I love this cigar. Very pleasant to smoke, very easy to draw, burns nicely, has a delicious sweet finish. I give it a 9.25. I really like it. Just
It's
want to
really
remind
good.
everybody, stay tuned right after this show for our Cigar Time Outlet show, where all kinds of spirits and wines will be discussed to match up with your favorite cigars. And we certainly appreciate all these years. I think we're going into our 10th. So keep watching, keep enjoying, and
Ciao for
bye-bye
now,
for now.
everybody.
Smoke often.